Hello and welcome back to our course. So in this session we are going a bit deeper into the most important modes and functionalities of Jupyter notebooks. Also we will have a look at the most frequently used keyboard shortcuts that makes actually our life easier and more efficient. However, as with all new things, the best and fastest way to get familiar and comfortable with Jupyter notebooks is of course by practice and coding on your own. You will see after a few hours of working with Jupyter that it's getting more and more intuitive. Alright, so nevertheless I want to give you some good hints and help for the start. So let's open a Jupyter notebook with the navigator. And we want to create a brand new Jupyter notebook. And we could call it test2. And let's start with an easy code. So let's calculate 1 plus 1. And we run the cell by pressing Shift Enter. So now we are on the next line. And here we could calculate 4 plus 4. And also execute the cell by pressing Shift Enter. And in the last session I said that when we are here in this cell, we can see here that the setting is code. So if we start writing, we are actually writing Python code, and we can change this to Markdown. So now the setting is Markdown, and this is simply a text editor. So if we now start writing here and run the cell, we are getting a text actually. And now we are in the new cell, and you can see by default the setting is to code, but we can of course change it again to Markdown. And what we can also do, we can make hierarchical headings. So by starting a line with the hash key and a space, and then by writing a text, we can create a header with a larger font size. So let's run here, and let's name here our header calculator. And then now in the next cell we want to create a subheader, and let's call the subheading, let's say, addition. First of all we have to make the setting to Markdown, and then we press hash key and make a space. So now we have the same hierarchy, so the font size is identical, and if we add here another hash key, the font size is getting smaller. So addition could be a lower hierarchical heading, and by adding more and more hash keys it's getting smaller. So let's take 2 hash keys and run the cell. And now we can also move our heading to the top of our Jupyter notebook by pressing here move selected cells up. So we can move it here up, also the addition. Jupyter notebook has 2 modes, so there's the edit mode and the command mode. And the edit mode is indicated by a green cell border. So if we go into the cell here, we click into the cell, then we see here a green cell border. And when a cell is in the edit mode, we can type into the cell and type our Python code or our text. So here we can change from 1 plus 1 to 1 plus 12, let's say. And then we can run the cell. And we get 13, so we changed the content of the cell in the edit mode. And the second mode, the command mode, is indicated by a gray cell border and the blue margin here. And when we are in a command mode, we are able to edit the notebook as a whole, but we cannot type into the individual cell. So for example, in command mode, we can add and delete cells and make more changes to the whole notebook. And there are 2 ways from switching from the command mode to the edit mode. So either we go with our mouse cursor into the cell, so we can see it changes from blue to green. And then we can go back to command mode by clicking here outside the cell. So you can see here we are blue again in the command mode. And there are also keyboard shortcuts for it. So we are now in the command mode, and if we click enter, we are getting to the edit mode, and when we are in the edit mode and press the escape key, then we are coming back to the command mode. So what can we do in the command mode? For example, we can add a cell above our cell. So we can now press the key A for inserting a cell above. And now here we have inserted a cell above. And let's go back to our cell here. So now we are in edit mode. We press escape to go to the command mode. And then we press the B key to insert a cell below. There you can see we have now inserted a cell below. And let's go down to our nonsense cell here, and yeah, we can delete a cell by pressing DD, so double D. Now we have deleted the cell. And there are also keyboard shortcuts to change the settings. So now here by default we have the code setting, and now we can change the setting to markdown by pressing in the command mode key M. There you can see here now it changed to markdown. And we can change it back to code by pressing the Y key. So you can see here now we are back to code. And there are many more shortcuts, and we can have a look and also modify the shortcuts by going here to help and edit keyboard shortcuts. And there you can see many shortcuts. So run cell and select the next cell is Shift Enter. Run the cell and staying in the cell is Control Enter, and run cell and insert a cell below is Alt Enter. So we already learned that. Then here enter to the edit mode by pressing Enter. So again, all these shortcuts only work if we are in the command mode, not in the edit mode. And what we also have here, we have insert cell above A, and insert cell below B, and change cell to code is the Y key, and change cell to markdown is the M key. And yeah, there are many more shortcuts, and it's a little bit a matter of taste if and which shortcuts you want to use actually, so it's completely up to you. So sometimes it's helpful, and yeah, in my opinion sometimes not. Alright. And what I also want to show you, we can actually store a value, let's say 5, into a variable, let's say a. So a equals 5. Yeah, we can actually execute a cell with a, so this is called printing. And now we get 5, because Python knows a is 5. And what we can do now, we can change here our calculations above and say, okay, I want to calculate a 1 plus a. So and this gives us 6, and also for example here I want to calculate 4 plus a, gives 9, yeah, and maybe I want to change here to 2 plus a, gives us 7. Yeah, this is actually the good thing about Jupyter notebooks, and what makes Jupyter notebooks so comfortable and easy to use, that actually each cell is running independently from other cells, and yeah, we can switch here from cell to cell, run this cell, that cell, and then go back to our previous cell. And we can see here on the left, yeah, the sequence how we have run our cells. So our actually oldest cell is here line 4, then we executed line 5, then line 7, and then line 8. And for example, let's make here something which Python cannot verify, or Python do not know what to do with it. So let's say 2 plus times 3. So this is not defined in Python, and whenever we do something which is not defined in Python, then Python drops us an error message. Yeah, and here we can see the comfortable thing about Jupyter notebooks, that we get an error message for only the cell which has code that is not defined. So this does, however, not impact the other cells. So all the other cells yeah, still work and still show an output here. And this is in particular for beginners very convenient, as it encourages you to code by trial and error, and you do not have to take care about making errors actually, because you only get an error message for the particular cell, and you can quickly edit your cell and change your error. So now here we know that 2 plus times 3 does not work, so we can modify here, and now we have changed it. And now let's assume we want to change a, so a is not 5, but let's say 7. Then we see here, so the latest cell that was executed is line 11. And here we can see in line 8, so the output has not changed, even if we changed line 11 where we defined a equals 7. So in line 8 where we calculate 2 plus a, this is still 7 because before a was 5, and line 11, so the reassignment of a was later than our line 8 here. And now if we want to update here our output to our new a, we have to run the cell again. So now it's 9 and we can see that this cell was executed after the new assignment of a. So now line 12 should already contain the new a. So this is the very good thing about Jupyter Notebook. So you can switch here from line to line and you can make errors and you can modify your errors. So no problem at all. However, in the end, yeah, it definitely makes sense to actually rearrange your code in a sequence that makes sense actually. So now we should put here the assignment of a to the very top of our code. So a equals 7. And let's say we rerun it again. And also here the printing of a, we can move up. Then we rerun it. Now we can also rerun all the other cells. So now 2 plus a is 9. We can delete the cell here. 4 plus a should then be 11. And 2 plus 3 is still 5. So now you can see here we have a sequence from top to bottom. At the end it always makes sense to rearrange the sequence in that manner actually. And what we can also do here by clicking to kernel, then we can either restart, to say Python or the Python kernel and clear all output. So if we do that, you can see here, so there's no output. So we have still the code in our lines, but the code is not executed. And now we can execute or run the cells here in a sequence with Shift Enter. So now we have again the sequence from 1 till 5. And what we can also do, we can do this in one step. So we can clear our output and run the cells again beginning from line 1 by pressing restart and run all. So restarting the kernel and running it again makes definitely sense from time to time. So if you have a very complex project with many lines in your Jupyter Notebook, so at some point in time it makes sense to rearrange the sequence and then restart your code again. So sometimes there's a mistake or something which doesn't work and you actually do not know why it's not working, and then it definitely makes sense to restart here. Alright, so let's save here our notebook and let's close the notebook here. And we also shut our notebook down. And now there's one last thing I want to show you. So let's go back to our test2 notebook. So before we shut down here the notebook, and now we opened it again and we can still see here the output. However, our notebook behaves like the cells have never been run. So our variable a is actually not stored in Python, and there we can try it by typing 3 plus a. So we would expect 10. And we get an error message, name a is not defined. So whenever we open a closed notebook, so all of the variables and other things, they are not stored. So whenever we open a notebook again, we have to go to kernel and restart and run all cells here. Now we can see we have a sequence from 1 till 6, and here 3 plus a works. And alternatively, if we open the notebook, we can run all cells here with just going to cell here and say run all. So here we do not have a sequence from 1 till 6, but still we have run all cells from the top to the bottom. So now we are finished with our installation in Jupyter Notebook Basics, and I hope you enjoyed it, and see you in the next session. Bye.